Hey folks, my name is Rene Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored.
This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Uncensored. Black Hand of the Mexican Mafia. Prison gang politics.
Hey folks, my name is Rene Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored. Welcome back to another episode of Being Made. So, for those people who are not familiar with this series, we did a book, Chris Blatchford and I, based on my life and experiences in the Mexican Mafia. It's titled The Black Hand. And the original concept was to come in and do a bunch of interviews, and we'd extract from the interviews, transcribe the interviews, and then put it into the manuscript, and that's exactly what we did. We went through a series of interviews, and this is at Walnut Sheriff Station. It's 2002. Chris Blatchford came in with Sergeant Richard Valdemar, and we conducted interviews, and we just discussed like an open-ended conversation about the Mafia, and from this, the Black Hand started to form. So this is Chris Blatchford in the room with me. This is an room, an interview room at Walnut, California, Walnut Sheriff Station. The same room where Perico did his debriefs, the very same room, and I am incarcerated. I am serving life sentences here. I just dropped out of the Mafia in 2002, and I was freshly transferred from Pelican Bay State Prison. I was flown down to Long Beach Airport and brought here, and this is where we're conducting the interview. So I'm going to run these and give you commentary on what my thoughts were and the episodes we're talking about here. Let's run it now. And the first person you're going to hear speaking is Sergeant Richard Valdemar. He was one of the leading experts in the Mafia at the time. Did the first federal indictment, United States versus Alex Aguirre et al. And that was the hotel series that I showed you. So you see how all this stuff interweaves and interlaps, right? And that's why I call it incestuous. Everything comes together. In one case or another, it overlaps. Carnada is going to be mentioned we did a call on, or it's going to be utilized, that call is going to be utilized in another trial down the road. So all this stuff is evidence in future cases.
All the meetings that are held that always start out with this story that one of the Carnales' nephews, nieces, cousins, or babies almost got shot in a drive-by shooting. They throw this nebulous thing out there, and every drive-by gang member every gang member who's ever been involved in drive-by goes, "Oh shit!" You know, that was might have been me. So this is the threat that they throw, and then they talk about.
That's the blanket that they throw over everything.
Right.
They cloak everything, and that could be a carnala's jefita.
Yeah.
The next time you shoot, that might be their abuelita, the grandmother, it might be their hija, that might be their hijo.
So we're talking about the stopping of the drive-bys, right? In 1992, we came up with this concept to stop the drive-bys in Los Angeles, California. We templated it after San Ojeda. San Ojeda started in El Salvador Park in Orange County in, I think, 1990. We saw it on the news. We said, hey, we could do that. But ours was much larger, right? San Ojeda had a couple hundred people. We wanted thousands of people, and we did it, right? I was incarcerated at the time in Los Angeles County Jail. And I called Chuco, I called all the brothers on the streets, and proposed the idea. But the original concept came up with Mo. Let's get into this and see if we talk about that on this video.
And if you kill a carnala's family member, you're through, and your whole body goes through. We'll green light everybody. That's what they say. They always use that to scare people in terms of compliance. But the original concept was to put representatives there so we can tax the illicit activities in those neighborhoods. The reps would be our go-to people, kind of like crew leaders in those specific areas. And like I said, there was opposition from Ruben Castro from 18th Street because his homeboys were habitually shooting people. As a matter of fact, as soon as we passed this thing, about 5 or 6 of his homeboys shot a little girl by MacArthur Park. And he was adamant.
So this is what I'm talking about here. Jesse Katz wrote a book on. It's called The Rent Collectors. It's an awesome book. I suggest you guys go check it out. I read the book. I had an advanced copy, and it's an awesome book. But Ruben Castro, Night Owl from 18th Street, was adamantly opposed to this. I called him. He was on the streets at the time. you can't do that. Our people are warriors. They have to fight, and just adamantly opposed to stopping the drive-bys. And he was the biggest opposition, but he was one voice against many, because I had Chuco Castro, Black Dan Barella, all those carnales were in support of what we proposed. And believe it or not, Little Mo was the one that came up with the idea. And we just pushed it forward, and it really came to fruition. But that was the hardest guy right there, was Ruben Castro. We just kind of bulldozed right over him and told him, this is going down, and your homeboys are going to pay for it if they do it again. And sure enough, they did. Well, as soon as they came, I was responsible for enforcing in the county jail, because I was in the county jail at the time. And anybody came in after X date, then they were going to receive their just desserts. In other words, they're going to be dealt with. And they were.
Trying to get them a pass. And we had them all whacked. All of them got hit in the county jail. A couple of them locked up after the originals got hit. And this guy was adamantly fighting for his homeboys. Just give them a pass. They won't do it again. They'll pay you money. You just tell them, no, this has to be done. We're going to do this. This is the policy. We're doing it. And we implemented the thing, and it was pretty successful, actually.
So, yeah, I remember those guys came in for clipping that child, and Ruben Castro just like, hey, give my homeboys a pass this time. Nobody will know, and every trick under the sun, right? Every trick, and I was okay with Didal. He used to go to my mom's house and drop me off Clavo, and he actually sent me some rounds to a 22, and he gave me a round 223. He dropped off some rounds that I was going to get smuggled into the county jail. I did actually have that stuff smuggled into the county jail, but he would take care of me. I mean, he was one of the few cardenales that would always stay in touch, that would drop off product for me to be smuggled into the county jail. And I recall this event that he came to me and he offered me $10,000. So my homeboys will pay you $10,000 cash to take off the green light. And I told him, I can't, bro. And it was then that I was in this stupid belief that was morally correct, right? They're like, nah, they're going to pay for it, and then I can't do that because it's not right as a card not to do that, right? Old dummy me just waved off 10 grand just like that, but should have took the damn money, because everybody was doing it. They would put somebody on the streets. They would put somebody hood on the green light list and then charge them 10, 20 grand to get them off. And it was, I was like the dummy that stuck to the moral code and waved off all that money. It happened multiple times.
Yeah, were you the one who turned Marisol Trucha on 18th Street?
That's what the brothers in the streets when they were doing that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, what they would do was they'd get a specific gang. If your gang was green lighted, we'd go to your gang and we'd say, you know what, go ahead, take off on them. They're green lighted, take off on them. Just go over there and shoot a few of them. And that's how we green lighted specific. And that's where the green lighting phenomena came through. And believe me, across the vast body of the organization, green lighting neighborhoods is not accepted. It's not even practiced today. Green lighting neighborhoods, although they confiscate these huge lists of green light lists in the county jail, this is not even in practice in the state prisons. This is the antiquated policy of Chuco and these other guys that were indicted in 1995. This is a 10-year-old policy that they're actually implementing. They have lists that old over there. In fact, I've seen some of those lists, and they're ridiculous. Hard candy, south-siding. These are phenomena that are utilized today that have no meaning to us. When we move on something, we do it with the intent to kill. And they heard beating people. They're having this thing called south-siding where 13 guys jump on you for 13 seconds as a form of discipline. I mean, they implemented so many things in the county jail that we were just totally out of tune with. We didn't agree with.
Yeah, that's the absolute truth. Like Maravilla guys, they would be targeted in the county jail. This is when they had their own module and all that. And Maravilla was fighting back, and they were throwing out slurs like F the Emma and sewer rats, and they did all this stuff. They really did. There's no denying that. There's no denying they did that. They may say that they never done that, but that's the truth, right? They were anti-Emma, and they've been anti-Emma since the 70s. In fact, some of the original founding members of the NF were Maravilla guys, right? So they have a long history of resisting the Emma, right? But here's the thing. As soon as they got to the joint, we didn't play that up there. We didn't care if they were from Maravilla. We had camaradas that were from Maravilla, right? And those green light lists that formulated in the county jail, we didn't play that there either. That's a like an isolated phenomenon of the county jail. In fact, we've run a number of calls where Sky Virgin issues out 39 sopas, right? Now, she loves that sopas, right? Sopas, right? But not one of those people got tagged up there in the joint. If they survived that whole ordeal through that they were put through in the county jail and they went to the joint, they were okay. You know, we didn't know anything about that stuff. The county jail is a different animal, and Los Angeles, the community and the gang community was a different animal completely from the organization up in the state prisons, right? Because the firm belief is that, look, if somebody does wrong, then they're dealt with individually. That's just as bad as saying, like, well, you did something wrong, so we're gonna eliminate your family. And the MA just doesn't do that, right? That's just not. That's contrary to what the organization's about. So this whole blanketing of neighborhoods was only implemented in the inception of the policy to kind of drive it home, right? And as a whole, the organization doesn't practice. In fact, they're anti that now. They're anti green lights. They don't even play that anymore, unless somebody targeted a carnal. Then that gang is going to be seriously dealt with.
But that's where that green lighting came in. And one of the last things we did in the organization when I left was to stop the green lighting of neighborhoods. We thought it was wrong as an organization to be targeting whole groups of people for the sins of a few. And we would rather afford those individuals from that neighborhood the opportunity to deal with their own problems rather than target them all. And barring that, we'll wait until we get a chance to deal with the individuals because we just think that's wrong. You know, it's just not right. And it would hurt us.
Do you hear how I'm speaking right there? Like, I'm still referring to myself as a carnal. Like we and us and I thought, and I still have that mentality. You could see it in me, right? I'm freshly out of the mob. I had been a member for 17 years, and I'm going through the debriefing process with the FBI. I had already done the CDC debrief. In fact, there's an old video clip of me in a blue jumpsuit that I did the debrief with CDCR right in this room right here after I was flown down from Pelican Bay. They came down to see me. They released me to the FBI, and the only way they can get the debrief is if they came down to do it. And the FBI allowed them to do it because I belonged to the FBI at that point, and nobody could see me, nobody could talk to me unless the FBI approved it. But I am still stuck in that mentality. Even my hair, the mustache, my mannerisms. I mean, you can still see the swag in me, and it kind of takes me aback that I was that jerk at one time. And I know people note that it's growth now that I can reflect on this and see who I was. And I just look at it and it's kind of repugnant. Now I get why people think I was an asshole, because I really was.
Rather than facilitate our efforts, I mean, we're alienating hundreds of people in one pop if we greenlight them. I mean, it detracts from our base of power. You know, and our base of power has always been the gangs.
Okay, how about the Maravilla Rebellion?
That was started in the 1970s with a group of individuals who started an organization called Los Maravillosos. The Maravillosos were a group of people from Maravilla, East LA, who wanted to start an organization in San Quentin in opposition to the desires of San Quentin Mexican Mafia members. They were specifically informed that they should cease and desist, and they didn't. Blackbird was one of them. There was a couple other guys over there. I forget their names.
Buckwheat.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. We got a few of them in the county jail. And they're still in the lista. As a matter of fact, my wife had seen one of them the other day. She was at the store, and she says, I seen this guy from Blackbird. And I told you, that guy's an old-time guy from the Maravillosos.
So, there had always been a resistance to the organization with the Maravilla guys. It started in San Quentin. In fact, I'm going to be doing an episode on the Maravilla guys. I'm going to try to get it right for all the Maravilla guys. Because anytime I post something about them, they roar up and they get in the comments like I'm tripping. I want this to be objective and unbiased and just tell the reality of how it came about, right? And this was my understanding at this time. It's since enhanced, right? understanding that Chato brought about the stopping of targeting Maravilla guys in the county jail, brought them back into the fold, and that they don't have to pay taxes unless they participate in politics, right? I have a whole thing coming up, right, on the Maravillas. And I'll probably use this clip in that. But this is just a thumbnail here that we're talking about the Maravillosos when they started that click up in Quinton.
So we had discussed them. Funny that you should mention this because we had just discussed this guy the other day. But they were placed on the lista because they attempted to start an organization out of the realm of the Mexican Mafia. And Mexican Mafia will not tolerate anybody starting an organization in the prison system or anywhere else that opposes our power or become a rival. The only thing that we recognize are the sureños, or the camaradas. And even those people are starting to organize, and there's been a couple of ideas of starting an organization with them to the opposition organization. It will never happen. But they were done for that reason. That's the reason the Maravillosos. So it became a generational thing. This is like 40 years ago that this occurred. So every time these individuals got out from Maravilla, they would tell their homeboys in the Maravilla projects and everywhere else in the Maravillas, hey, the carnales have us on the lista. Don't mess with those guys. So it became generational. 40 years where it's been ingraining this and inculcating this into the minds of these individuals from Maravilla. So now we have a just bred antipathy for the organization in the Maravilla. Like Sereno. It didn't take but one generation to turn that whole gang against us. And that's why they're green-lighted. And those guys are permanently targeted, the low L guys. Those guys are permanently targeted. They'll never come out to lista. Maravilla will never...
Ha! Eat your words, Rene.
Never come out to lista. They're targeted upon entry in the county jail.
Just because they've just put their face right in them.
Because
his face and said, hey.
Yeah, they've never engaged in battle with us. They've always done it running. Do you understand?
Like guerrillas.
Not even that. They don't even. The one thing they inflicted was Tonito. That's the only injury they've inflicted. Yeah. And the Maravilla guys, they just say that stuff on the street, but they don't take action against us. They're only victimized in the county jail. I think they've done a couple of hits. I don't think they've killed anybody. I don't think that everybody's scared of the power of the Mexican Mafia. And
let me retract that. Right, they killed Checo from Maravilla because he was a camarada. He was a sureño. Right, that's what I heard. Now that's based on street rumor. Right, Checo was in fact eliminated, and it's rumored that it's homeboys did it because he was a camarada. In fact, Checo would have been made at some point, but he wasn't a carnal. Had he been a carnal and they did that, they never would have came off the lista. But Chato, Sandoval, brought him off the lista, right? And they did. They did a couple hits in the county jail. I mean, they were waging their little battles that they could, but they're extremely outnumbered, right? And I understand that they would put him in this module, the Maravilla module, and they were isolated from everybody else, right? But they engaged in a few hits there, and I mean, they fought as best they could.
Jail setting. But what they don't realize is it's a pretty weak organization, really. I mean, there's only like 100 members in the United States, maybe 150.
A full-fledged Mexican Mafia.
That's it.
Really? That's all?
That's it.
What are these figures you hear? 800, 1,000? You're 800 in Arizona.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
So it's associates, and they
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, they do that. They include those numbers.
I got a file of Mexican Mafia, the hierarchy. Every member in Mexican Mafia, Arizona State Prison, wrote me. They wrote to me on a constant basis. We got them recognized. They were illegitimate, as a matter of fact. They weren't recognized.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to do an episode on that as well. But the numbers, CDC and other law enforcement agencies are it's almost like they're overzealous in validating people, right? There were dudes that I saw that were validated that were nobody and were never going to be anybody. They were crash test dummies, right? And those guys are in the tens of thousands. But they would lump these numbers up. Oh, there's 400 members. Oh, there's 800 members. There's never been that many members. In fact, when I got in the organization, there were about 60, 70 members total in the organization. And now it's about double that number. And it stays small because it's a very elite group. It's hard to get in the organization. Easy to get out because they just whack you, right? Or you drop out. But it's hard to get into the organization. So it's never been a large group of people. It's never been this huge organization like the Italian mob and all the five families and the cliques they got everywhere. It's never been that way. You got the feds and you got the state and you got a small group of guys in Arizona, and that's the only recognized factions. Well, they had a faction out in Hawaii as well. They had three brothers out there that were running out there. And there's some people who say it wasn't a faction, but it truly was a faction. I mean, look up the definition of the word. And it was a faction in Hawaii. There was a faction in Hawaii.
By the California Mexican Mafia, we were the individuals, me, Jaco Padilla, Widow Sherm, who brought them legitimacy. And there's 7 of them in Arizona that are legitimized. And only 2 from California. The rest are from New Mexico, Arizona, but they are part of our fold. And they're in disarray. They're politicking against each other. And you'll see that correspondence here, it's in this file, but there are not that many Mexican Mafia members. There's 3 in Hawaii. There's 3 members in Hawaii that are functioning out there, Widow Tres, Tony Palacio. There's maybe about 40 in the feds, and there's about 40 in Pelican Bay.
Hey, this may digress a moment, though. Tell me about the hand.
The black hand?
Yeah, the tattoo you've got.
You want to see it?
I've seen it.
Oh, I was going to say, I didn't wear my pasties. Where's those darn pasties?
Those damn pasties, I didn't have them on at the time.
Behind that, because
Actually,
you're the only guy with a big one like that, right?
I'm the only guy. Well, there's maybe 2 other guys with black hands. There's Ricky Cruz that has a big one, but his is horribly misshapen. They look like thumbs, all thumbs. Really?
So someone did
They
a
look
bad
like
job.
they're like this.
Yeah.
All the fingers are like this. They did a real bad job on this tattoo. And there's somebody else, Cuate Grajeda has one right here. People have tiny, small ones.
I've seen pictures of those.
Yeah, there's little small ones. Jimmy Sanchez has emero, which means mafioso. It's a slang word for like a MM member. But I'm one of the guys with the larger tattoos. And my understanding that it was the symbol of the black hand in the Italian mob. Back when they were working the docks, they would get their greasy handprints on pieces of cargo that
they'd steal.
that were protected. Well, actually, the combination guys had greasy hands, and then they touched this property. Other individuals would know, don't touch that property because it's protected by the black hand. And that's where they got that phrase. And we adopted it as black hand of death. And we're the only ones that utilize it now, black hand of death.
I know that comments are going to pour in. It came from La Comora, it came from this, it came from that. That was my understanding at the time. There's a couple different theories about where that black hand emerged from. And all I know is that we adopted it, right? The Mexican Mafia adopted it, and it's the only organization to use it today.
So that one was an antiquated symbol of the combination of the black hand and on the docks back 50, 60 years ago. And we're the only ones that use it today.
Tell me, when did you put yours on and why? Tell me that story.
I was in Folsom. I got to the main line about 6 months after my initiation. I got a lot of flack for this as well. So that one was an antiquated. As a matter of fact, I heard that you could only put it on if you earned it. You had to make your way up in the organization to tattoo it on, and it was just ridiculous. This was the Kilroy Bebito crowd, espousing their rhetoric about every brother they could talk bad about.
Yeah, Kilroy and Bebito, man. I despise those guys. And that's the first thing they said. Why did you put that on? Who told you could put it on? And I thought I earned that when I became a cardenal. They says, well, you have to earn it. So when I got in, I earned it. And they let it go after that. They didn't say anything else after. Then all the brothers started putting it. Chico, a bunch of brothers did it, In fact, mine is small compared to the black hands I have now. In fact, Bat has one that comes from his pectoral area all the way up like this. It's huge. And then there was Güero Verde, who had a huge one on the front of his throat. You got cardenales putting it on their neck now. Even Perico has one, a little misshapen black hand as a cover-up. So once I did it, that broke the mold. Everybody started doing it, right? And this was back in 1985. But I did catch flack for it from those brothers that were politicians at the time. Those two guys caused me a lot of grief. And I'll tell you straight out, when they came up into the hat, I was so happy. I was so happy. Like, oh my God, you're in the hat now. What you did to us, you're finally getting a taste of. And it felt good. I'm going to tell you straight out. I know that sounds evil, but it felt good to see those guys tumble. Because they were giants compared to me. I was just this little 22-year-old kid having these dudes politic on me, and these guys with this massive amount of juice and palabra. So to see those guys tumble, it was like, oh my God, it was like a euphoric feeling.
Once you're a member, you're entitled to put on anything you want. You're not supposed to admit to being a member of the organization, which is why a lot of members don't have it tattooed on them. But at this point in time, it was an open secret that we were Mexican Mafia members, so I didn't see the point in, saying, I've still never admitted to being a member, ever, to anybody other than after my debriefing. So, even though I had the tattoo and M had tattooed on me in my hand and my arm and everywhere else, they would ask me, are you from the M? I'd say, no, I'm not from the M. That means something else. El Mexicano Encarcelado, the incarcerated Mexican, or something else. And, it was an acronym for something else. So, I got this put on in 1985 when I got out in the mainland. I did catch a little flack for it. It was just a badge of my membership. I thought it was like a display of who I was. It looks like a peacock flowing their feathers. Mm-hmm. That's what it was for me.
Who did it?
Wolfie from Arizona, the state Arizona. Mm-hmm. He did it for me. He went to a cell. It was on a tier in Folsom in BB2. And it was one of the most painful tattoos I ever got because it had to be so dark, repeatedly going over it and over it. But I wore it with pride,
What did you just tell him? Just wake up one day and say, I want a black hand on my chest?
I actually got the pattern made after I got made. I made my bones in Folsom. Uh-huh. There's a book by Stephen King called Thinner. Are you familiar with it?
No.
Well, the cover is a big red hand. It's like a big red handprint. And I took it to an artist and I told him, I want one of these with the word M inside of it. And he did that. He did it for me. It came out perfect. But when we did the M tattoo, it was too blatant. So I just told him, cover up with some watered down ink, the E's, so they're kind of faded out. That's why you can only barely see the E's. You can barely decipher them. They're kind of indistinguishable from the rest of the tattoo.
Yeah, I always remember just the M.
Well, the two E's on either side.
A-M-E.
Yeah.
I have one of those drawings by Psychedelic Mike.
Yeah.
Was he one of the artists putting those on?
No, Psychedelic Mike was before my generation.
He dropped out before that.
Yeah, I remember his name though, Psychedelic Mike, being one of the like third generation mafioso.
So did this take a couple of weeks or a day or?
Well, one sitting to get it done.
Uh-huh.
One sitting all day during a yard. They let us out for yard all day. I went into his cell and he sat down and tattooed it in. Then I came back for a second round after it healed up because the E's were just too blatant.
Yeah.
It's just M.A.
I remember that guy Wolfie from Arizona. He was from the state, not Arizona Maravilla or anything like that. But he was there. He was a great tattoo artist, and I wonder if he's still around. and I wonder if he's ever seen the tattoo and how prolific it became in every documentary and every freaking news story. That tattoo has become prolific, right? And I remember in fact, the cops caught us doing it, but they didn't care back in the day. They didn't care that you were in somebody else's cell, getting tattoos, getting high, whatever. They just walked by, they'd look in, they had those little slots in the door, little holes in 5 block, like dungeon doors. And they would peek in, and they caught us doing it. I mean, we naturally put it away, put it to the side, but they just kept pushing. And they wouldn't bother us. They just really didn't. They didn't really care. If you weren't hitting the cop, then they didn't care.
Just standing out, even though other brothers had it on them, I just didn't like it that boldly.
And did you walk around with your shirt off with that thing on?
Oh yeah, it was just
on purpose.
On purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my badge.
Look at the arrogance. Yeah, on purpose.
Of accomplishment. I had arrived. I was a brother less than a year, and I wanted people to know that I was a cardenal. I was one of these brothers that was discreet, and I think you probably detected that from my persona. I'm not a wallflower.
Yeah.
I'm a talkative, social individual. And I've always been this way in prison life as well as street life. And it was no different than after I made my bones. I was out there. I was out there. I was a different...
You know what? You see this bravado right here, right? But that's just a mask. That's a facade, right? Because inside I completely lacked confidence. I was insecure. All those things. All those things come with personality disorders, right? And this is like a persona that I created. Boxer was the alter ego. to mask the traumatized child, right? It took a lot of therapy for me to understand that. And maybe some people still have those aspects of the personality and they don't understand why. I understand why. I understand why Boxer came into existence, right? And I said, I still do therapy once a month. I was going every week at one point in time at my release. But now I go once a month, and it's the best thing in my life. Therapy is the best thing in my life. And it allows me to recognize some of those idiosyncrasies and personality flaws and really character flaws. Anybody that does insight work knows what character flaws are, right? And I could see every one of them. I could see every one of them now. Like, yeah, I'll never be that guy again, And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for the growth. A lot of people have mentioned that when they see these videos, the growth. But I am thankful for the growth, right? I'm more than just this. I am more than just this. And I'm striving to become better every day, and that's what these videos have really awoken in me is a desire to be more, right? I don't have to be like a Father Gregory Boyle or create a grassroots movement to gain that feeling of accomplishment, right? Like, I know that somehow, somewhere, somebody's seeing this, actives, people on the yards, whatever, people in the streets, and say, you know what, this is all for nothing. And that's really where I get my sense of accomplishment, is that I get emails, I get comments where people said, I changed my life because of your video, or I changed my life because of your book. I now have a business, or I'm just out with my kid and my wife. I'm struggling, but it's so good to be out from under the foot of the Emmett, right? And that's the only message, not anti-Emmett. I'm not, the guys want to be that, then be that, right? Stay in there and die in there and die with your honor intact, if that's what is important to you. But it's not important to me, right? And that's not real life, because such a minuscule percentage of individuals in this state follow that ideology. And it's only those that still suffer from that low self-esteem and that needing to belong that adhere to that. We get a comment once in a while where somebody says, oh man, how can you look in the mirror? And look, I'm going to tell you straight out, you make negative comments, they're not coming up on my channel. Just don't even waste your time, bro. And I do let some through once in a while, just for the objectivity and to respond to them and set them straight on a fact or something. But for the most part, if you're talking ish, if you're being disrespectful, your comment is not. I won't block anybody. I've never blocked anybody in the channel, because I want people to be able to see it. Maybe they get the message after the 90th video or the 190th video. They'll get the message, or they'll get something out of it that's applicable to their life. But that's how I feel. That it's that I get that sense of accomplishment, that sense of worth, I guess. It's like my mission. It's just to get the word out, that there is an alternative life. And there really is. I live a damn good life. And I'm blessed. I breathe free air every day. And every day above ground is a blessing to me. And I truly believe that. Because, again, I'm going to tell you, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be sitting in an office, being a content creator. I'm not an influencer. I've never considered myself that. And never will I be considered an influencer. I'm just not going to accept that. What I am is a content creator. I'm a storyteller, and that's what I do. I share my experiences, right, personal experiences, with each and every one of the viewers. So that's what I feel. I look at this and I'm able to detect all that negative stuff, and it just takes me back to where I remember, like, this is all that was important to me. That's how little I valued myself. I had no self-worth. That's really what you're seeing in these videos. A man with no self-worth that believe that the only way he can receive validation is through violence and appeasing other men, right? Because that's really what it is. When you toe this line, you're pleasing other men. You're following the rules because you're afraid to live your own life. You're afraid to step out and say, nah, I'm not going to stick that shank up my... I am not going to go whack that guy. I'm not going to do any of those things. That's not cool. Because it isn't, right? And it's not until you mature you're able to see all that. And thankfully, I matured at some point in life. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not critiquing those guys that want to do that. You know, people call them all kinds of things, right? Like the big homies, the Dios, and the legends, and all this stuff, right? They're just men. They sit down on the toilet and poop just like you every day. And they bleed. And they're not demigods. They're none of those things. They are not... they're not like idols to replicate or worship, and that's really what you're doing. You're worshiping them. They're just men, you know, with flaws, and they get up in the morning with bad breath, just like you. Nothing separates them from humanity other than their inhumanity.
Different type of mafioso. We were the different breed of mafioso coming in. You know, back then they were caught up in antiquated policies of not making money, of being secretive about everything, and we were thinking, hey, let's be out there, man. Let's make money off this thing. This is organized crime. We got to turn this into dough.
Yeah.
You know, if we're not, then we're not organized crime. We're just gang members and thugs.
Well, you know, I told you that one time. I mean, the first Mexican Mafia I ever interviewed, you know, I'd drop out. He said he'd talk to me about anybody but Boxer Enriquez. He said,
really?
Man, that guy's crazy, man.
Really?
And they just get that little arrogance in the end. We're like a different breed, you know. We're this elite group, and that's how I thought of myself. Little did I know I was, instead of being the creme de la creme, I was the bottom of the barrel, right? In terms of society. I mean, that's how society sees these guys, right? That's how they saw me. And some still see me that way. And that's cool. I'm cool with it. Like I said, your opinions of me are none of my business, and they don't have space in my head. They just don't. With that said, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll come with another one soon. We got a ton of this stuff, and we're going to keep bringing it to you. Bringing it. All right. As always, you can leave a comment, support the channel by giving it a thumbs up. You can forward it to a friend. You can subscribe. You can become a member of the channel. You can become a member of Patreon. We also have www.realrenehenriquez.com where we sell merch. We sell autographed and signed copies of the book, The Black Hand, signed by me, of course, with a personalized message. And the other way to support is just watching the video in its entirety. I know sometimes you guys got something to do, wash the dishes. No, just let the video run. Let it play. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe and God bless.
This is René Enriquez. Nickname Boxer.